we'll start with the comment that Gabi Ochudako made on Face to Face. I'll read this article for you from ChannelOneNews.com. People who believe Agyapadie document must have their heads examined, says Gabi. All right, so Gabi Ochudako, Gabi Asare Ochudako, a prominent figure in the New Patriotic Party, has strongly criticized those who believe in the authenticity of the controversial Agyapadie document. He contends that anyone who accepts the contents of the document, which allegedly outlines a scheme by some MPP members to capture state assets for personal gain, should have their judgment questioned. Now, in an interview with Umaru Sanda Amadou on Face to Face on Channel One TV, Ochudako dismissed the document as baseless, calling it imbecilic for anyone to claim that the events described within it are actually taking place in the country. Now, and then I quote, I will repeat what I put on social media the other day. If any person, any intelligent person, or a person who considers himself or herself intelligent believes that a family that has one of their leaders being offered an opportunity to lead the country will sit down and conspire evil against the nation and put the picture of the overlord or the head of that family on that document, you must have your head examined if you believe that. If I don't want to mention names, when I hear people try to say that things in the book are happening, are playing out, it's very imbecilic. It's a very imbecilic statement to even hear, because it comes from a non-analytical appreciation of what is in that fiction. Now, the story goes on, and gives us a bit more detail there. But let me just start with Ajwa on this one. Ajwa, so this is what Gabi is saying, and I think that we have had various persons push in the discourse around this subject the fact that this is a document that portends or suggests that someone put this document together and is executing the plan, but many people have also said, no, it doesn't appear to be truthful. I don't know what your comments are on this.
Well, good morning to you and your viewers. Unfortunately, I didn't make the time to watch the interview, but I read a publication from your station on just what you read. And during my reading, I was just trying to look for a superior argument, which suggests that it is indeed a fiction. But I didn't find any, but the usual insult to Ghanaians. And so, as Mr. Gabi Ochudako is a leading member of the NPP, or a strong member of the NPP, and also a family member of the president, it is expected that he will also deny such a document that is in circulation. But within this whole argument about whether or not the document is real, is true, whether it's fiction, and all of that, I am tempted to think, or I am of the firm belief that that is not necessarily what is important to Ghanaians.
Okay.
The believability or otherwise of the document is not necessary. I mean, it will be shocking if we're able to authenticate it and say that this is the named author of the document and this person is the one behind all this planning. Fine, it will be shocking. But as it stands now, we are unable to point a finger to a particular person who authored this document or a specific time within which it even came to be, because there are different stories of it coming to be somewhere in 2017. Some say before the 2020 election. Some are saying it's a revised version. But whether or not it is a revised version, it is something that was written before 2020, it is something that was written in 2017, does not take away from the content, the seriousness of the content of the document. And like I say, we have a lot of documents out there that can be authenticated, the authors can be pointed at, but why are they not in discussion? So if this Agyapadie document was a document which, if we looked at, did not see anything, let's say government conducted its business fairly, and it did not even coincide in any way with some of the happenings, or it did not look like a blueprint, will we be seated here discussing it today? I think the main concerns of Ghanaians, okay, and whether or not there is an Agyapadie document which seeks to outline certain steps or plan or strategy to achieve a certain goal, it is irrelevant. What is relevant is some of these things that are in this document have happened. So if we say the document is fictitious or it's fiction, does it take away the fact that the president's cousin, who happens to be our past finance minister, was not part of data bank, which ended up being or is one of government or is the main government financial transaction advisor for Ghana. But some years back, he wasn't. There were about three of them. The EcoBank, EcoBank, SAS by Togbe Afede, another one, and Data Bank. That were the main financial transaction advisors for government. And even this Data Bank wasn't even at the forefront. And so we are saying that there are things that are happening, whether or not there is an Agyapadie document, there are things that are happening that is leading or that is making people think that there is an attempt to capture the state for a few people in government. And so if Mr. Agyapadie Akun says that this is fiction, that it should be dismissed, he needs to bring a superior argument besides the insult on Ghanaians. And oftentimes, these governments or people who are close to this government try to do that, try to gaslight the people, or try to even attempt to insult our intelligence by making us feel like we are not seeing the things that we are seeing. So whether or not it is fiction, whether or not it was written by whoever, whether or not it came before, now, or then, it does not take away from the fact that there is a practical, authentic implementation of the things that are in that. Some of them have either come to pass or are still in operation. And I've heard some argue that, I mean, if it was something that was planned to take away the resources of this country, then there are certain things in the document that has not played out. And I say that in every strategy, there are smaller plans. And sometimes plans cannot be followed to perfection. And so the fact that certain things in the document have not come to pass does not still take away from the fact that there is a grand scheme to take that which is not theirs, to appropriate it and make it theirs. And so I'll look at a few things. I went through the documents and then I began to think about, and you see, when I take the documents and I read it, just like any other logical being, you look at the content of the document, you look at what is happening around you, and you apply that to create some intelligence for yourself.
Okay.
And so if we are saying that it is not true that this government or this small group of people in government is trying to appropriate for themselves that which belongs to the government and all of us, then why do we have a government that has been on record to appoint about 51 persons who are either direct relatives of the president or very close relatives of the same circle and friends? And I have here a list of such appointments. And I know that this won't be the first time that you have heard, that you might have heard something like that. Excuse me.
So, as you're looking for what you said,
Yeah.
what you're looking for there, I just want to read this thing by John Dramani Mahama. He said here that recently there was a document called Agyapadie. They said it was fabricated, but even if it is fabricated, the implementation is not fabricated because everything written in it, in that document, has been implemented. Now, I just wanted to take note of the fact that he did not categorically insist on the correctness of the document, right? He rather said, what we are seeing is a play out of things that are written, but he did not stand by, as some people have, you know, that this thing, it doesn't seem to me as someone who believes it's a real document.
Of course, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is a very, I would say, intelligent man. And I think that this morning I'm making the similar argument that whether or not that document can be authenticated or is authentic or is written by whoever, it's not really what the problem is. It is about the fact that even if there was no Agyapadie document, the happenings or the things that are happening around us still points to the fact that some group of small people are trying to position themselves strategically to take over the country, such that even if there was a different person in power...
Please wrap it up for me.
Yeah. And so I have the list of appointees. I don't know if, because of time, I will not be able to, but we have a few, Nana Asante Bedie too, which is obvious, Kofi Dakwa Asante, Mrs. Vida Asante, Kwesi Kutu Asante, Loretta, they are all, and when you mention it, people will say, are they not qualified? There are a lot of qualified people in this country, but it is not for nothing that good standard and ethics demands that for us to have good governance, we must reduce cronyism and nepotism and putting our family members into positions, because then it makes it difficult for us to tackle bribery and corruption, and also it makes it difficult for you to punish people when they go into wrong. And so, but I am not done with my submission on this. I just wanted
I need you to wrap it up, please.
Okay. So we have seen the instance where family members have been appointed. We are still saying that no, there is no state capture. We have seen how our electricity was the attempt to take over our electricity through the PDS deal, which called for a lot of public uproar. We have seen the financial sector cleanup, and then in the document, we have seen under, I think, page 8 of that same document, it's being suggested that these people in government are in control of the Bank of Ghana, or which is they describe as the mother. And then I think to myself, if not, why will the governor of Bank of Ghana print to the tune of 70 billion for this government? From a country where in 2016 we're doing zero central bank financing, straight to about 70 billion being printed for government. And so when we talk about, when we do the juxtapositions of what is in the document and what is happening with the cleanup, with the data bank being the sole financial transaction, with enterprise being the main insurer for government, even though there's SIC, which is state-owned, and all of it, which is the Agyapadie deal, even which Mr. Asare Ochedakun himself was fingered in, that he was paid, the Office of the Special Prosecutor said that he was paid a certain amount, his law firm was paid a certain amount, together with Data Bank. When you look at all these things with petroleum, everything that has happened in the important sectors of this economy, you can tell that there is an attempt, even if you did not have an Agyapadie document, you still can tell that there's an attempt to overtake this country and capture the country. Okay.
Dr. Amoakoh, before you give your submission on this, I just want to read this. This is coming from a conversation on The Point of View, which aired on ChannelOne TV on Monday. Bernard Avler was having a conversation with Manasseh Azuri. Now, we know Manasseh. Manasseh, as an investigative journalist, is pretty thorough, you know, in his work, and sometimes tends to have a very hardline stance on certain things. Well, this is what he said when they were discussing the Agyapadie document. He said, SML is just like the Agyapadie document. I said in this book, okay, that when I saw the document, I concluded from day one that it was a propaganda document written by someone who is mischievously meticulous, which I thought was a very interesting description, you know, for the way the document was put together. So I dismissed it. Okay. Yeah, so it says, so I dismissed it. But what gives the document credibility is how persons close to Akufo-Addo have behaved. All right, let's hear from you.
So I think before we even go into the nitty-gritties of the Agyapadie documents, which we will go into because that's actually what we are here to discuss. We can sit here and talk about all the family members John Mahama appointed, but that will not be a prudent use of our time. It's obvious that the NDC is a party in chaos, and as everything we are going to discuss today, we are going to demonstrate how they are absolutely a party in chaos, and so they have to rely on propaganda. Manasseh Azure was absolutely right on that point. And I think he was even too charitable. Meticulous is a very big word to give to whoever wrote it. The document is fraught with grammatical errors, spelling mistakes, which at this point is a little irrelevant. But it even goes to the point where it plagiarizes someone's paper, research paper, page, the whole page, word for word, not even a comma or full stop is missing. I don't see how some great state actors, we think they are so smart that they can capture our economy, are going to do such a shabby work. Like, I mean, even the project work we do for uni, you make sure that you don't plagiarize a whole page. You know, you can just run it through a plagiarizing checker and then it will find you out. The only interesting thing that they did was to take pictures of the document so that it actually looks like it's leaked, because once you actually read the thing, it is just absolutely ridiculous. So Gabriel Shedrakan is absolutely right with what he said. So let's go into it. It's nothing new that during election the NDC comes up with some bogus allegation one day after the other because they have nothing else to tell us. They have nothing else to campaign to Ghanaians. It happened in 2008, around when President Kufuor was leaving office. There were all manner of stories that were unsubstantiated. When they finally came into government, their now General Secretary, Fifi Kwete, was in Parliament and he was asked, and I mean, I think we've all seen the video of his response. It was just embarrassing. And it is very insulting to Ghanaians that they always resort to these tactics. And looking at history, we are all aware of the people that rely heavily on propaganda. It's the empty people that have no interest in nation building. They are the ones that resort to such tactics. It's obvious the NDC is aware they are losing the election. That's why all of this is happening. So let me dive deep into my analysis of the Agyapadie document. I've actually read it and studied it because, yeah, it's necessary to actually put your own mind at rest. Firstly, it is very, very obvious that there is no way this document was written in 2017. All you need to do is put it to any fair-minded person. Even my 10-year-old brother will be able to read it and say, you know, some of these things do not absolutely add up. The first page of the document, those who have it, I don't know if you have it, you can probably put it on the screen. The first page, underneath the picture, you see AD 2020. Okay. On the first page, it is right there, AD 2020. I don't understand if that was a mistake by the author or how that came about. Then you go down and then you see a misrepresentation. This is supposed to be a great action plan, isn't it? So why does it have Prempeh the First there? A photo of Prempeh the First on his family. The first, so even before you go into the body of the document, there are things there that show you that this thing it doesn't have any facts. It's just a great propaganda tool, like they always come up with. Instead of them to sit down and come up with concrete plans to move the people of Ghana forward, these are the tactics they resort to. Then you go into the body of the document and then you have ABSA, formerly Barclays Bank. If you are writing this in 2017, how are you writing ABSA, formerly Barclays Bank? Because the takeover of Barclays' Ghana business by ABSA was done somewhere in 2020, if I'm right. So how are you writing ABSA, formerly Barclays? There's a story about Mrs. Antoinette being pushed into the CEOship of ABSA. And I don't even understand. People saying this great state capture plan, how does that benefit anybody by making Mrs. Antoinette CEO of ABSA? How does that really benefit anybody? It's just, I don't even know. I can't find a civil word to use to describe this issue at this point. Then as I was telling you about the plagiarizing, you can go to page 33, copy and paste all the text there put it into Google, and then the actual source documents will come out. It was a document written by Professor Akua Amoakoh for CDD Ghana, and it is copied word for word. I mean, I can't even believe that's what's happening here. Then you go somewhere that it talks where she was talking about the banking sector cleanup. Number one, let's be emphatic and clear. The banking sector cleanup was a necessary decision by this government to save the banking sector. If you've actually seen the BOG reports and the documents on how these banks were run, how they were given money constantly by the past government, the NDC, to the tune of over 10 billion, constantly given money, and then the money is shared amongst shareholders, used very unscrupulously. So if you want to bring the banking sector as something that was negative, I mean, let's check ourselves there. It's for the good of Ghana, isn't it? So we are supposed to do things for the good of the country. Nobody wants a banking sector crash. So on that, there's a mention of the Ghana Amalgamated Trust, which is a special purpose vehicle. This was set up in 2018 or 2019. And then the wording from the BOG document talking about how the Ghana Amalgamated Trust is giving NIB and Co. 860 million to recapitalize. It is copied word for word, dito dito. So somebody from the Great Achem clan wrote this thing in 2017 and was using past tense in the writings to describe things that are yet to happen. I mean, let's be serious here as Ghanaians. I know it's an election year and everybody's trying to say whatever they can to win hearts and minds. I mean, even their flag bearer has said that on video, that during election you lie, you mix the truth with lies to get the people, to convince them. And I find it beneath us that this is the best they can do, because it is shabbily written at best. Why are you talking up something that's supposed to be a future plan? You're writing it in past tense. I'm sure even my little brother, 10 years old, he will understand the dynamics of a writing like this. If you are saying that it's a future plan, the wording should be different, you know? Or pages cannot be plagiarized like that. So it is very obvious that this whole Agyapadie document is just a distraction in the time of election, so that we cannot see the inconsistencies, that we cannot see that NDC is a party in chaos, as we are going to demonstrate throughout this interview. It is so obvious that it's because they are in chaos, they don't have anything to say, there's no coherency, so they settle for these cheap tactics.